Hi there, I'm Larry Emder. If you think driving in Australia is hazardous, we are about to change your mind. What we have for you tonight is footage from surveillance cameras, news cameras and amateur videos from Britain, Europe, North America and Australia. Now, some of it's bizarre, other scenes are just plain scary. Some of the footage used in court as evidence just goes to prove how downright mindless some people can be behind the wheel. So buckle up and hang on tight as we take a spin with the very best of the world's worst drivers. This is the M6 motorway in England. It's a typical English summer's day. It's been raining and now the sun's out, but the road is still wet. Watch the left lane, and in particular a red four-door sedan. Miraculously, it never hit anything and was never traced. But now, watch the chain of events it sets off. Keep your eyes on that white truck in the middle lane, and then immediately after that, the left lane. But that's not all. See what's happening back down the motorway. A semi-trailer is sliding sideways, and if you look closely, you can see it shaking as more vehicles crash into it. Criminals seem to enjoy using motor vehicles, especially when they're not their own. Unlike a car that you own and love, stolen cars, like hire cars and company cars, can do things and go places ordinary cars simply cannot. A high-speed pursuit through the suburbs. When these two thieves stole this car, they didn't realise the owner's dog was still in the back seat. Now, kindly, they offered to release the dog, but to save time, they threatened to do it whilst the car is moving. Rather than put the dog at risk, the police call off the chase. One of the thieves was later caught, and the dog returned unharmed. Range Rovers are beaut cars, especially for ploughing crops or trekking off-road to avoid a police car. Police helicopters are a little harder to elude, especially when you leave a trail of evidence like this, and especially when someone digs a 2-metre ditch in front of you. The two enterprising young men in the red and white transit van have a load of video recorders, stereos and TVs. Unfortunately, none of it belongs to them. Neither does the van, for that matter. The police want them, the van and the stolen goods back, so they set up what they call a rolling roadblock to safely guide the criminals off the road. But the criminals didn't fancy that idea. They wanted to go out with a bang. He's crashed at junction 23. This is the getaway car for a gang of post office robbers. To help the police spot them easily, the robbers have decided to drive down the wrong side of the motorway. The police were organising a roadblock when it was decided, well, it was no longer necessary. Occupants of both cars survived. Another post office robber. This one, however, does drive on the right side of the road. Well, sort of. Watch carefully. A police Range Rover tries to force the MR2 to stop, but the MR2 drives into the car in front. Now, flat out on a stretch of motorway, the MR2 leaves the helicopter behind. He moves into the emergency lane, only to be confronted with a slowly moving vehicle. Now heading out into the country, thinking nothing's going to stop him now, his luck finally runs out. This is a stolen Mercedes-Benz. This is a Los Angeles freeway. This is the Mercedes-Benz again. And this Well, that's a brick wall. We're in a US highway patrol car. The vehicle in front is stolen. After this commercial break, we continue with more crooks on wheels, including one who only needs two. Stealing cars is a dangerous game, and when you lose big. Let's go to Canada now for one of the slowest car chases in history. This is more reminiscent of a Torval and Dean performance than a police chase. The crooks finally stop, and the police close in. And just when you thought it was safe to play in that park, they're off again. The chase ended shortly afterwards like this. This stolen car is not going anywhere fast, but the police just want to make sure. Often, Hollywood blockbusters are inspired by real-life drama. Now, if you've seen the latest box office smash hit Speed, starring Keanu Reeves, then the first of our next two stories may seem a little familiar. The Nine Network's Mark Burrows tells the tale.
The charter bus, minus its passengers, was stolen in San Diego. Normally, it's a sedate 3-hour drive north to Los Angeles. Correct. In this case, what followed was a wild 130 km/h chase along the freeways and roads leading to LA.
Shoot at his tires or something. Don't let this guy go.
The man had police and the local media in hot pursuit through suburbs and the center of the city.
Swerve, here he comes. There's the bus right beside us. Right there, that is the bus. Something is dragging, as you can see, a bumper is dragging.
With sparks blazing, nothing it seemed could stop the bus, not even a blockade of patrol cars.
He's smashing into patrol units. He's crushing them.
After a chase lasting 5 hours, the driver of the bus was finally cornered in a dead-end street.
Right into a house.
Wisconsin police thought a roadblock manned by well-armed officers would be enough to stop 2 suspected bank robbers from making a getaway in the stolen van. The woman hostage managed to leap from the van, but she was shot in the shoulder as she scrambled for safety. The suspects reloaded and then broke through the roadblock. Seconds later, they lost control of the van.
This motorcyclist was pulled over for speeding. The police didn't know it at the time, but the bike had in fact been stolen. When this happened, though, they soon realized the bike and its rider were never seen again. How many times have you watched the news and shook your head in disbelief as you see yet another legendary pile-up on one of those gloomy, fog-bound British motorways? The following is footage taken from surveillance cameras used on those motorways. Watch carefully. Of all places, this driver decided to stop in the fast lane to change a wheel. When the police asked why he had stopped there, he replied he thought you couldn't drive at all on a flat tyre, even in an emergency. So why did the chicken cross the road? So why did this man cross the road? A bad joke and a dangerous stunt on a busy motorway. One too many gin fizzes perhaps for this fellow. Thankfully, he didn't attempt a return journey. The camera operator noticed this car stopped on the side of the motorway. At first they weren't sure of what the driver was doing, but it turns out he was relieving himself facing the traffic. His car had European number plates, but I'm not at liberty to divulge his country of origin. The lady driver of this car has completely missed her turnoff. She is now illegally reversing, well, sort of, back down the emergency lane. The footage has been sped up because it took her so long to reverse. It makes you wonder how she passed her driving test. Watch out for that black car. Okay, and now one for the ladies as the battle of the sexes continues. This fellow has also missed his turn-off, except this time it's getting dark and the traffic is a lot heavier. Like the footage before, this has been sped up to show how bad this driver's reversing really is. And just when he thought he'd made it, a bus. And let's go for a hat-trick with this one. I'm afraid another one. But this time, a passenger has to get out and give directions straight back. Now, if you were a passenger in this car and the driver asked you to do this, would you get back in? I don't think so. It's raining and the visibility is bad. This mental giant has missed the same turn-off. So what does he do? Well, he's stopped in the outside or the fast lane. Waits for nearly 3 minutes before driving straight across the motorway and up the next exit. They're the latest things to have. We're all familiar with them and lots of us use them. But you should only use them when you're not moving. What am I talking about? The mobile phone. This driver is happily chatting away on the car phone until the police pull up alongside. And I would suggest now is a good time to say goodbye. This driver's on ice and on the phone. And this driver's just on ice. The driver of this Bentley was so busy on his phone, he didn't notice the police pull up right behind him. And why was he wandering from lane to lane? Probably because he was having a drink as well. Coming up next, please, not in front of a police car. Potentially dangerous things in motor vehicles. But how many of us have done it right in front of a police car, which is equipped with an onboard video camera? Here we are in our police car minding our own business when one comes through the give way sign and another turns right in front of us. The driver of this four-wheel drive wasn't doing anything wrong, but he was obviously more concerned about the police car behind him than concentrating on the road ahead. Now, the driver of this car had done something wrong and had been directed by police to pull over at the side of the road, but not like this. Impressive stuff. This guy can do two things at once, drive and read at the same time. This driver is also reading, but he thinks that's okay because his passenger is watching the road for him at least. This is London and it's a grey winter's day. This Mercedes sedan has been pulled over for speeding. Now, the police sat in their car waiting for the driver to get out. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and they waited. It turns out he was speeding to try to get her to shut up. It obviously didn't work. She said she wanted him to drive her to the dentist because of a bad toothache. Whatever the reason, the police let him off with a caution, and she wasn't so generous. From the Believe It or Not file, the driver of the small blue car in the outside lane was asked to pull over because she was driving too slowly for that lane. The driver panicked and stopped where she was. Listen now to the police radio and how the boys in blue are sympathetic to her plight.
You've got to be just totally brain dead, haven't you, to do that?
I'm reversing now.
The fishing gear's in the boot, first holiday in 3 years. Oh, he's okay, and the holiday continued in a rent-a-car. Ever get the urge to change radio stations as you drive? Don't. That's what she was doing. Motorcycling at night can be hazardous. Just ask this guy. Fortunately, the rider was okay. Don't forget, look right, look back. We've all done it, taken our eyes off the road for a split second and looked up to see a car stopped right in front of us, or a set of traffic lights turning red. The following sequence is a good example of what happens when you let your concentration wander. To be honest, these drivers' concentration levels were probably okay. But if they'd been fully on the ball, maybe they would have seen that sign. This is from Australia, and this petrol head thinks he's a racing driver at Bathurst. Wrong, he's on a public road, and he's an idiot. At least that guy had someone else doing the camera work for him. Now figure this, a man on his own on the open road, a man driving his own car using his own camcorder, and wondering, how will I get this camcorder out of my forehead? Larry's driving tip 46. Don't worry if you miss out on the 3-point turn. Hey, heck, we're all friends. But seriously, and quite honestly, you should think about familiarising yourself with a device called a handbrake. Embarrassing and deadly, the driver of this bus has his hand caught in an inspection panel. Now his mates run to the rescue, but eventually it's a bush that saves the day. We tend to underestimate the importance that tyres play in the safe operation of a motor vehicle, but the driver of this car has taken that underestimation to a suicidal level. Hang on tight, this car was left at the edge of the road with the engine running while the owner ran to the shops. The vibration from the idling motor caused the car's automatic gearbox to slip into reverse with this bizarre result. And guess what they taught the boys in blue to do in this situation? Driving a vehicle that runs like this is not only hazardous to the environment, but downright dangerous to other road users. And no, we're not flying in low cloud or driving through fog. This is the smoke from the exhaust of a Volkswagen Golf convertible. It's in there somewhere. There he is. And listen to the driver's reason for the smokescreen.
Over there. I've just put diesel in by accident. Pull it over there, please.
Welcome back. Most of the pictures you have seen tonight come from these two videos, Police Stop 1 and 2. When they were released in Britain earlier this year, they shot straight to the top of the video charts, and they should be released here shortly. Now, you may be the best driver in the world, but as the driving instructor tells us on our very first lesson, one of the very best of the world's worst drivers could be just around the corner. Take care and good night. Oh, before you go, here's one more for the road.
Next on 9 Owl Pals, House Officers.